And there's another health concern impacting families right now. As of July 31st, 2026, U.S. measles cases are at the highest annual total since 1991 and highest annual total of 2025, according to the CDC. Last week, the first case in more than a year was reported in West Virginia. Measles is a very contagious viral illness that is transmitted through the air. Early symptoms include itchy eyes, high fever, cough, and a white spot inside the mouth. Right now, Ohio and West Virginia both have cases of the measles, along with all of the bordering states. A doctor with infectious disease at WVU Medicine Camden Clark says the lack of cases in West Virginia can be attributed to the mandated MMR vaccine.
The high-risk people are unvaccinated, children or neonates who cannot be fully vaccinated, people with weakened immunity, such as cancer patients and transplant patients.
He says even if you just receive one MMR vaccine, it can still be 93% effective.